Hi, guys. My name is Fraser, and welcome back to the Lifeline podcast, where we talk about all the things that you wish you knew in your 20s to help you feel just a little bit less clueless. Today, I have Robert Trail, my wonderful boyfriend. If you want to introduce yourself, you can.
Hello, I'm Robert. I'm from Houston, and as she said, yes, I'm her boyfriend that got dragged into this, but she won't say that. It's fine. You can edit that out.
I thought it would be nothing better than to have an actual relationship who has been through the ebbs and flows of everything to come on and talk about what it's like to date in your 20s, all the obstacles and hurdles and random things, honestly, that you might never have thought about or you are going through right now with your own relationship. I'm really excited. We're going to talk about just some things that we've experienced, some funny stories, maybe share a couple laughs. I don't know. We'll see what this guy has got to say about me. But hey, I got some things to say about him too. So,
Let's
yeah.
get right into it.
Yeah. So, to jump right in, we're going to talk about what relationships kind of feel like. The things like pressure, excitement, expectations, all of those things, just to dip our feet into the water a little bit. What expectations did you have dating in your 20s versus dating like in high school?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of different expectations. I mean, in high school, it's a lot more casual. You
Mm-hmm.
don't really everybody goes to college, and you don't really know what's gonna happen there, and then you're just kind of dating just because I don't know, maybe you think a girl's cute or something, and
Yeah.
then I feel like the expectations in college are a lot bigger. Uh, I almost hear a lot of people say, if you're dating in college, you're not only dating to find someone you're gonna want to marry or at least spend a lot of time with.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those expectations are a lot different. It's definitely there's more. I guess I'm just kind of a random one. There's travel expectations, stuff like that. Just changes.
Yeah.
When you're in high school and you're dating somebody and you're kind of near family and everything like that. So if you want to, oh hey, my parents are doing dinner, come over. Or oh hey, like, we're doing this, blah blah blah. Like, it's a lot easier. But then in college, it's a lot more of like a, hey, we're in San Antonio, but my parent want to see us this weekend, so you got to drive 3 hours and stuff. That's just randomly, I don't know.
No,
but
I think it's true, and I think it's honest. I think that a lot of people also forget that whenever you do go to college in somewhere that's not your hometown, you have to add in that factor of family as
mm,
well. And it's fun, but it's also kind of a pain in the butt,
but
honestly.
can be, yeah, it is.
It's coordinating schedules is already hard in between two people,
Mm,
and then you have to add the family on both sides,
mm,
especially when it comes to holidays.
yeah.
That's always very interesting. But I mean, we've kind of gotten it down to a science pretty much. We try to at least like see one family and then the next time we'll
Mm.
see the other one. But it's definitely something that you have to learn and like talk about as like a couple, because then like I feel like sometimes people will be like, well, you don't like my family or we never see my family. And that's really just not the case.
Well, I think yeah. I mean, part of that one is just like we had that one time where we see my family probably a lot more, and that's just because we have that lake house that's 45 minutes from here, and it's always easy to just pick up things and say, all right, let's go to the lake house. People are there or nobody's there, and then you go there, and then everybody ends up showing up, something like that. So that one I think just happens a lot more. Um, but I think you do need to make sure that you're still like finding a balance because you don't want it to be like, oh, like, well, we've seen your parents,
Mm.
for 5 weeks straight. We'll go see, my parents, stuff like that. But yeah, no, that was definitely one of them. But
What was one of your expectations coming into college, like in dating relationship wise? Like,
I don't know if I never necessarily thought I was going to date exactly. I don't know. I mean, I was dating someone going into college, but that one I knew was, you know, going away. That's something. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of happened. It wasn't anything that like I planned for, but it wasn't anything that like I was like not looking for.
yeah.
It wasn't. I was like, "Oh, no, like, I don't wanna date," but, like, at the same time, it's like, you see, you got options, stuff like that. Um, yeah, I don't know, I feel like maybe the pressure in college is harder, because you have a lot of pressure for people that are, like, saying that, "Oh, you shouldn't date in college," and then you have the same thing on the other end, it's like, "Oh, well, college dating is a lot tougher," in the sense of, not necessarily tougher, but, it's a lot more meaningful, I guess, you're
Yep.
not really just like I was saying earlier, dating just to date, there's no way a lot more that goes into dating in college, but yeah, no, I mean, I think that was maybe kind of the thing going into it. I mean, what were your expectations going into it? You think you were in a date in college?
Honestly, I didn't have any expectations going to college, even for college. Like, I was just gonna try and keep my head afloat, honestly. But I think whenever it came to like dating expectations, I knew that I wanted to be in a relationship and I didn't want to just like, you know, talk to a whole bunch of people or have very superficial relationships. I had experiences in high school and they drained the life out of me and it was just not fun.
Mm,
And so when I came to college, I knew that I would either want friendships that I knew wouldn't turn into anything because I really value friendships, or I wanted to date somebody. Like I didn't want any of that awkward in between because it just gets so stinking messy.
yeah.
So that was like my expectation when I came into college is I knew that either I was going to be in a relationship with that person
Mm.
100% or they were just going to be my friend because I didn't want to have to deal with it in between. So I know that I have expectations put on me from other people. I don't know necessarily about you, but like my parents, they did things certain ways. My siblings did things certain ways. And so for me, I felt like I had a lot of expectations to find a boyfriend, get engaged, and get married very fast because that's how my whole family did it.
Mm.
And like, I mean, you know this, like, you've seen my family. So I feel like there's a lot of different outside pressures from other
Mm.
people. What, like, did you ever have any pressures from your family in regards to dating?
In that sense, it was really the opposite. Yeah,
Really?
it was kind of like, whatever you want to do. There wasn't any
Yeah.
like you have to find someone, you have to get married, you have to, you know, do all that
Well,
stuff.
like,
Yeah.
for me, I'm saying, like, my parents were like, "Oh, you find your boyfriend and you date for a year. And then by a year comes around, you should know if you want to marry them or not." And so I had this expectation of, okay, I should be dating this person for a year. And if I don't think that I will want to marry them within a year, then
Mm.
like they're not the person for me.
Yeah.
And I had to really undo that because it was not right for me.
Yeah.
Did your parents so your parents were just like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
whatever timeline you want," they didn't care?
Exactly. Yeah. There wasn't any like, oh, like you have to know by X amount of time dating somebody. I
Yeah.
mean, I think if anything, there's probably longer. I
Yeah.
would say. Yeah.
I'm
Personally,
like, "The more you know."
yeah, not really any. Oh, you have to know by this amount of time. It's like, oh, deal when you're ready,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Which I think is good because we kind of are opposites,
Mm.
and so we definitely level each other out, and, like, you're like, "Oh, it's fine, like, we have lots of time," and I'm like,
And then you're like,
"Oh my goodness, like, this
yeah,
is
like,
not my usual." So I feel like we've
mm.
come into a good
Plus, also you're about
balance.
town too, like where you grew
Yeah.
up. Everybody does that.
Yeah.
And half of the guy people don't even go to college. They stay in the same one town, and probably get married in high school or something.
Yeah, no, that is
Mm.
true.
That's
There are a lot of high school sweethearts or freshly into college, they get married, and my sister was one of them.
mm.
So,
Yeah, and one of your best friends.
yeah, that
Uh,
too.
two of 'em right there. Like, yeah.
I want the viewers to know a little bit about us because I feel like them getting to know who we are
You look back.
yeah, give them a bit better understanding.
Mm.
So, me and Robert have known each other for, oh my goodness, since we were 13.
Maybe something like that.
13 or 14. Went to the same summer camp,
Mm.
Camp Longhorn. Had a way to go. And we're kind of always just best friends. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we always, talked whenever we could see each other, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Saw each other over the summer pretty often every summer.
Mhm.
Um, but it was only 3 weeks,
Yeah.
couple nights, 3 weeks out of the summer.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it.
But that didn't really like change anything. We
Yeah.
were still best friends. We loved to talk throughout the school year and catch up.
Technology.
Yeah, thank goodness
Fancy
for
fun.
technology.
Yeah, it worked. It did work.
But I feel like our love story, I don't know. How would you define? There's so many different pivotal moments.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to hear it from your perspective because I feel like I always say my perspective.
Well, what do you mean? I hear what exactly?
So
Like,
we met when we were younger and we had same summer camp. Where would you continue the story from there?
I think you were just you were somebody that I think I always did kind of have a crush on you. I always liked you, but I didn't. There was never really anything I could do about it. I only saw you for, like you said, 30 weeks out of the year, if even.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe that's why I didn't necessarily pursue it as much, because like you just didn't seem like somebody that I would ever see
Mhm.
too often. But once college started and we happened to go to the same college, I think I kind of was like, well, hold up, there's something I can do now. I don't have to, think that I'm never gonna see him, because I'm gonna probably see her a lot more. And then yeah, I think it just kind of just happened from there. It's something that
Yeah.
was kind of expected. I think a lot of people around us knew that it was gonna happen
Oh,
before it has.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that's just kind of how I would describe it. Do you have a different way you would put it?
No, I think there's just like always, like you said, something there, but we just never could do anything about it. I mean, we at summer camp, we have this thing called carnival, and there's like a marriage booth, and we would get married every
Yeah.
single year. And, we had dance nights and we would always dance. I mean, I hope y'all are thinking of us not as right now, but like think of 13 or
Yeah.
14-year-old us.
Very different.
It was very cute, okay? When I'm talking about it, it was actually cute. But yeah, and then I think where everything really started, at least for me and my brain, was you had texted me a month or 2 before we were moving into school, and we had always talked about going to the same college, but, like, in a ha-ha, like, "Yeah, maybe
Like,
one
what if
day."
yeah, like a what if it happened kinda thing, not like a,
Exactly.
"Oh, let's both go to the same place."
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you had texted me and you asked if I had decided on a school, and I was like, "You know what? Yeah, I'm going to UTSA. That's where the roads are leading, and that's where I need to be right now." And you literally texted back, "Oh, I guess I'll see you in 2 months." And I
Yeah.
I was like, "Excuse me, what? What are you talking about?" And you were like, "Yeah, I'm going to UTSA." And then that's how we knew we were both coming here, and then just saw each
Yeah.
other on campus. And the rest is kind of
Yeah, just kinda
history.
went from there, yeah.
Yeah. Now 3 years, almost 3 years in
Almost.
November, is our anniversary, and who knows when I'll get a ring. Since we told our viewers a little bit about our story, I want to know a couple questions that I just don't think we ever really talk about, or we haven't in a long time.
Alright.
But I want to know, what was your first impression of me?
I think my first impression was that when we had the camp that we used to go to, around that age when we started meeting each other, they had these things where, maybe 2 or 3 nights out of the summer, out of those 3 weeks, you would go and you would, meet up with the other girls at your age and everything like that, and then y'all would just kinda, there'd be a movie on, and there'd be, games and random stuff that you would do and just hang out and talk and everything. And I think my first impression was that there were a lot of girls that, kinda hung around with each other, or maybe knew some people from, like, back home, and so they would kinda talk to them and everything. And I think just the group of guys that I was with and the group of girls that you were with, I think the thing I noticed is just that you were a lot more outspoken than the rest of them. You didn't really, like, you weren't as nervous, or even if, I mean, even if you were, you weren't really showing it as much. she thought. And I think that kind of just clicked with me is that you and me were both, talking a lot and not just kind of like sitting back and talking to just the people, the guys that I came with, or the girls that you came with, and stuff like that. We were actually just talking to each other.
Yeah.
That was kind of my first impression is that you were a little more out there. You weren't very you weren't introverted, I guess,
Wow.
which was a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Not a good thing.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I would have never thought that that was yours
Well,
first
what
impression.
was your first impression?
Oh, okay, well, I knew of you before I had even met
Oh,
you.
yeah.
I knew you because a lot of the girls that were my age had either known you or like
Yeah.
were like friends with you.
Mm.
And so I always heard them be like, "Oh yeah, Robert's really nice," and blah 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 blah. And I think in my brain I was like, "No, probably not. Just like another boy, whatever." But then every time I would see him, he was just really like calm and not super crazy rambunctious like the other boys were. Like the other boys would tease us and like try to make us do random things and like pick on us and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like you were always kind of in the back being like, "Oh, like okay guys, let's not go that far." Like, it was
Yeah.
funny at times,
Mm.
but then you could tell whenever it was just like a little bit over the line. And I thought that was really respectful, honestly. And you were really funny and cute. He looked like Justin Bieber also. That was another person.
My hair is quite different now.
You literally looked almost exactly like Justin Bieber. Going back to when we first started dating and all the newness and excitement of dating, when did you think, oh, this could like actually be a really serious relationship?
I mean, I honestly feel like it was pretty early on. I kind of always, yeah, always kind of thought it would, be serious. I mean, of course, I didn't just jump into it like, oh yes, that's serious. It's happening. We're going all the way. You gotta, you know, don't get your hopes too high up. But
Yeah.
I think that after time, just dating, and you get along with my family really well. I get along with your family. Same with friends, and get along with each other's friends and stuff like that. And it's just all of like the things that normally would you know, make a relationship seem not serious weren't really there. And so I think that's kind of when I started to realize it.
We're going to do a little game. All right.
All right,
It's going to be rapid fire. So I'm going to ask a question, and then the first thing that comes to your mind, you just have to say it. Who made the first move? Not even close.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No,
Good,
you
what?
you kissed me first.
Okay, yeah, no, I guess that's fair. Yeah.
Who says I love you more? I might give that.
I need my affirmation. I need to hear it.
I do actually. When I think about it, it is probably more you. More likely to get hangry.
Yeah.
Who's the cleanest?
Yeah, that's fair.
Thank you. It is me. What's our go-to food?
Waterbury.
Whataburger.
Yeah, that was easy.
100%.
That was easy.
So good. After playing that fun game, I think it's only fitting to talk about some of the challenges that we have experienced and that our viewers probably will experience because it is inevitable. Challenges within relationships are just something that you have to navigate. And I honestly think that how you navigate the challenges within your relationship will show you if it is a right relationship or if it's a wrong relationship. The first thing that always comes to mind, especially when dating in your 20s, is balancing your relationship and your friends slash school or work because they are kind of two different realms. They can mesh, but you do have to keep them separate to a certain level.
I think for me, the first year or so, that was kind of an issue for sometimes, for sure. I'm very much a people person. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm always, wanting to hang out in groups and wanting to hang out with my buddies and, do this and go here and see these people and stuff like that. And I think a lot of times I would, do that and, I'll be like, hey, like, we're all doing this, let's go, or like, we're all doing this, come on. And, there wasn't a lot, there wasn't, I mean, there was, but there wasn't like the most, just you and me going on a date or you and me hanging out. It was a lot of, just us hanging out, but also hanging out with like all of our friends and everything. And
Mhm.
so I think that was one of the ones that, was a little tough for me to manage at first in a sense. I wasn't, really good at splitting the time between the two.
I feel like also it was not just like a you thing though.
Mm,
We both, I feel like to a certain extent, are people pleasers.
mm,
We want to make everybody happy. So we would always want to say, yes, like we want to come to this with y'all, even though we hadn't been on a one on one
yeah.
date in like 2 weeks.
Mm.
But we categorized it as a date
Because we
because
still
we were
saw each
together,
other, yeah, that
you
was the
know?
thing, it was like, "Oh, we still saw each other."
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I think that that was a downfall is we didn't separate, okay, we as a couple need to have time to just be around each other,
Yeah.
and then we can also go see friends
Mhm.
and do other things once that cup has been
Yeah.
filled. Had a lot of conversations about it because one person would be sad because we hadn't actually hung out,
Mhm.
and I think the way that we approached it was really good by just talking about it and saying,
Mm.
"Hey, look, I know that we've been seeing each other a lot, but my cup isn't filled because I feel like there's always other people around us and it's not just me and you time."
Yeah.
And as much as we love our friends, I think that we need to make each other a priority
Mm.
and then we can add things in
Mm.
after that. And it wasn't like, oh, we don't want to be with our friends at all.
Yeah.
That was not the case. It was like we want to be with our friends so much that we forget
Yeah,
that
just
we're
quality
not
time.
just
Yeah.
friends
Yeah.
and we have to take care of each other
Mm.
first to be able to do better with our
Yeah,
friends.
exactly.
So,
Good answer.
um, this also is a very interesting thing that my brain has always thought about is informal versus formal dating. So, what I mean by that is you have people coming into their 20s, they're have this mindset, I am only going to date if I think it's very serious. Like me. That's how I was coming into college. I didn't want to date anybody unless I knew it was going to be something that I could see long lasting. And then there are other people who come into college and think, oh, well, it's college. I should experience all these things. And I don't really care to be super formal with my relationships and wherever the wind blows, pretty much. And not that either one is right or wrong, but I think that a lot of the time when people are trying to start dating or they find someone that they like, say Robert was an informal person,
Mm.
but I was a formal person, I feel like people get really butthurt because he's just like, oh, yeah, it's just a cool relationship, just seeing where it goes. And I'm like, oh, this could be something serious. I want to
Yeah.
put in a lot of time and effort. Have
Mm.
you ever experienced that or anything
I would
like?
say, I mean, yeah, in high school, it was very informal dating.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there was really anyone in high school that I dated and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely marrying this person or definitely gonna have a long lasting relationship with them. It's not that, I didn't, like the people I was dating or talking with or stuff like
Yeah.
that. But, I'd never really looked into that as like long term stuff. And then, I think in college it just changes a lot. Because, I think the informal dating in college isn't even dating. It's, just like, hookups and stuff like that. And then, I mean, majority of the people that date in college are, at least from, my perspective from what I've seen, they're dating at least, trying to be more serious, more long term.
Mm.
They're not going into like a dating relationship in college, especially as like in your 20s, a junior, senior. You're not really at that age, just like, oh, like, yeah, I want to just date this person just because, I don't know, they're cool and I
Mm,
like, just want to like talk to them or something like that. It's a
yeah.
lot. It is definitely a lot more serious. I think that's definitely something you need to talk about with if you're gonna date in college. You need to, talk to the person and just be like, hey, like, and I mean, it's a conversation that most people probably have, but it's just like, after a little while, you got to definitely have that conversation of like, all right, like, are we just dating to have fun or are we dating to be serious? And, that's where you gotta, I mean, the earlier you do it, probably the easier because if you go in with one intention and then the person you're, looking to date has the opposite intention and, that kind of throws you off, it's better to talk about that earlier rather than,
Yeah.
wait and then be like, oh, well, shoot, I've been dating this person for 6 months, but like I didn't really want anything, but they wanted to be serious. And then that just causes more, just annoying stuff, I
Yeah.
guess. I would say, yeah, that's it.
I think I agree. I think just being honest from the beginning, because there's no right or wrong answer. It's completely person by person basis and viewpoints of if you want to be more serious or if you don't really care to be more serious. But I think having the respect for the other person just to at least talk about it in the beginning-ish stages of a relationship, because it's gonna save a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of anger or heartbreak if you just talk about those things and not just assume.
Yeah.
What advice would you give yourself when you first started dating or you like decided to take relationships really seriously?
You know, you gotta you gotta realize that you gotta cater to the other person's, emotions and needs and stuff like that, the way you feel about something isn't the way that everybody or the way that the whole situation is or how everything feels like that, you gotta be able to talk it out and if you have something that you don't like or you're upset about, you got to talk about it or, if somebody else is upset in a relationship, you got to understand like, okay, like you can't immediately think like, oh, they're overreacting or oh, they're, just being weird or being like this or something. There's a reason why somebody's feeling that way and, the only way to figure that out is to talk to them about it and,
Mhm.
that. So, you definitely just got to figure out the ways to talk about that and understand the other person a lot more. Just that scheduling and time thing, and just make sure you are spending quality time with the other person rather than just you know time where you're only hanging out with your friends, and that's
Mhm.
about it. So really the quality time is a big one for sure. I would say.
Yeah. So this kind of ties back into whenever we were thinking, oh, could this be serious? But now, once you've been dating and you've been through those, steps of, okay, this is serious. Next step is, how is it gonna last and how are we going to make it last?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to put it is uh everything dies when you stop talking, relationship, society, company, and like that dies when you stop talking. And
Mhm.
so, like the biggest thing is if you want something to last and you really do want it to last, it's just you can't stop talking. You can't,
Yeah.
if somebody's feeling one way, you can't just they're gonna get better. I'm just gonna leave them be for a little bit. You just you gotta talk and you gotta figure stuff out. And if you stop talking, then there's no way that anything's gonna last.
Well, any last statements or anything?
I think the main thing I would say to end it off is, I've said a lot of stuff. She said a lot of stuff. And it's a lot of advice that I think we both believe is really good advice because it's stuff that we've learned just being together. But I think the main thing you gotta realize that every relationship is different, and so you just really have to find what works in your individual relationship because what works for us might not work for everybody. Um, and if you actually put the time and effort into finding that stuff out and getting to know what does work, then you're gonna have a lot more success dating, especially dating seriously, than somebody that wouldn't put any of that work in. And so I would say that's my closing statement.
Yeah. I think also another thing to really keep in mind is whenever you're dating, and especially if you want to take it seriously, you have to make sure your priorities are in line with what you want because it's easy to get caught up in the moment of liking somebody and then you realize, oh, I don't know if this is 100% something I
Mm.
want or not. And that's also a telltale sign of, you know, where the relationship might end up going. So, I think just making sure that you have your priorities in line before you start dating and carrying those through will also strengthen the relationship because if that other person values you, they'll also value your priorities. And thank you so much for joining us today while we talked about dating in our 20s. It's always fun, it's always interesting. We could probably go on for
Long time.
hours about
Yeah.
this
Gotta get on
because
football though.
there's always so much that entails it, but hopefully this gives you a little kickstart, makes you feel just a little bit less clueless when you're going into the dating realm in your 20s. And yeah, I do want to leave with a couple of questions for y'all to answer to get those gears going and help you think about what you want in your dating life in your 20s. What are your views on dating? Are you an informal dating type person or are you a formal dating type person? Where do your priorities lies? And what does a relationship look like to you? Not to other people, but to you. I also always love hearing this question. What are the biggest green flags and what are the biggest red flags
Mm.
in relationships? Think about those two and maybe put them in the comments. Who knows? Well, thank y'all guys for listening to Lifeline. Today we talked about dating in your 20s. I'm so glad that I have a supportive boyfriend to be here and join in on the conversation. Hopefully, you can take some of the things that we said today and apply them into your dating into your 20s. We're so glad you took the time to be with us today, and it was honestly really fun. I loved it. But next week, we're going to have a lot of interesting topics of conversation, and I'm so excited to share with y'all again soon.